Now this video is going to look at Plotinus and return. So we've talked about how the process of emanation from the one to the nous, and then from the nous to the soul. Okay, and then this process of emanation is met by a process of return. So all things seek to return to the one. Okay, and this process of emanation and return are in equilibrium. So the return goes through the hypostasis. So the soul returns to nous, and nous returns to one. And the movement of return is a movement of desire. Okay, so all things desire to find to get to a more simple and more real stage. Okay, so remember, as you go further up in this chain of being, things get more simple and things get more real. Okay, so there's a desire for that simplicity and for that greater experience of reality. Okay, this desire is nourished by and expressed in contemplation. Okay, so the way this return happens is through genuine contemplation, and that's what leads to the return. All right, so Plotinus's philosophy is an exercise in introspective self-understanding of the self. So introspective. So introspective, so if you think of the word spectator or spectacles, that means looking, and intro means within. So Plotinus's philosophy is about looking within and understanding the self. So if you recall, we talked about how in our experience that knowledge is discursive, right? Which is that the idea that to achieve knowledge in an experiential world, it's a process of steps. But we said there is this knowledge of the self which is intuitive, right? You just know yourself as yourself, primarily with no medium in between, so to speak. Okay, and so this is the process of beginning to move up in this chain of being is really a process of going within yourself. And within yourself, you begin to find this intuitive knowledge through, and in this contemplation of self, you move up the chain of being. Right? So not just us, but really anything. Okay, so for Plotinus, what is higher? So the higher, okay, is not more remote, right? So this is sort of a counterintuitive thing. So let's say this was a mountain and this is you, right? Now what is up here is farther away than what is here, right? I mean, that distance is greater than this. And so spatially, that's the way it works. But with Plotinus, is the one, or what is higher, is actually not the more remote, okay? The higher you go, right, it's the more inward you go. Right, so that's the way it works with Plotinus, is to go higher, right, you have to go more inward. That's inside yourself. So to climb up, you climb up by climbing in. Right, that's go inward. So as the soul ascends to the one, so as the soul is ascending to the one, okay, it enters more deeply into itself. Okay. Now, so you can see the interesting thing here is that self-knowledge and knowledge of the ultimate are bound together. Okay, so this idea that if you want to ascend to the one, you want to go up to the one, the way you do it is by going deeper and deeper within yourself, and then you get to the one. And so you can see that the deeper you go into yourself, the more you know yourself, right? So self-knowledge and knowledge of the ultimate are bound together. So the process of the soul's return, so if we ask the question, how does the soul return? So if you recall, we're looking at all this in context of the return of the soul to God, or the ascent to truth. So it does so in a way similar to we see to what we see in Plato. So it is the way of moral and intellectual purification. Okay, so that's the way it returns, and we saw something similar in Plato. And then why does it have to return? Okay, so the reason is again similar to Plato's, which is that the soul has come from the fatherland, but has forgotten it. Okay, and so of course it has this desire um, to go up, and so the the ascent to the one, when the soul moves up to the one, you're moving from, well, actually, let's go the other way. So when we were, so previously we contemplated the one, okay, and in a way, so fell. What we moved from certitude, right? This is where knowledge is intuitive. There's no possibility of error, and we move to discursiveness, right? So that means that we were once up here with the one, or with the forms, contemplating all that, and then we fall to this realm of discursiveness, which is mixed in with error. And so our desire is to find that pure knowledge, again, that ultimate reality, which is the purest object of knowledge. And so that's the motivation for the return. Now, one last point that we see with Plotinus is that this journey is one that's made alone, right? So it's that the soul makes the journey alone. So it's the alone to the alone. The soul is alone in its journey to the one beyond the forms. And I'll make the point that this is going to be very different than the Christian context where one is never alone in the journey, right? One always has, say, Christ and companions along with the journey. So there'll be differences between Plotinus and other Christian theologians who adopt Plotinus's framework.